I'm very good at starting something and then get halfway through and go, why am I doing this? Like, I'll go back to the book as an example. Why am I expending so much effort to try and put my thoughts on paper? It's because I want to share my story. It's because I think the world needs to better understand what it's like to be neurodivergent. So there's a real purpose and a meaning behind it. Everything that you're doing has a purpose and a meaning, and there's always a why. So always coming back to your why, that for me, that helps motivate me and keeps me productive.
Welcome to the Focus and Chill podcast, where we discuss unconventional productivity tactics designed for neurospicy people. I interview neurodivergent guests who've figured out secrets for getting a ton of amazing work done without burning out. I'm your host, Jeremy Nagel. I'm an ADHD software developer turned startup founder and PhD candidate. I built FocusBear to help with my own productivity and burnout challenges. Welcome to episode 119 of the Focus and Chill podcast. I'm thrilled to be joined by Travis Alexander today. Travis is a science and engineering master's graduate working in the medical technology industry. Growing up, he was faced with many unexplained hiccups delaying his development into adulthood. Through self-discovery and coming to terms with his autism, ADHD, and dyslexia diagnoses, Travis is now a passionate advocate for the neurodivergent population. He aims to inspire others to live their best lives. When he's not telling stories or writing books, Travis enjoys breakdancing, running, and spending quality time with his wife. Welcome to the show, Travis.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks so much for having me on. Yeah, I'm excited to get started and kick into this.
Absolutely. It was really good to meet at the Melbourne ADHD conference a few months ago, and I'm excited to hear more about your story and about the book. So let's begin with learning about your neurodivergence, the autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. When did you realize that?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with dyslexia at age 24. So I'd already come through quite a bit of life before even realizing I had dyslexia. At the time, I was failing my university course and I didn't really have an explanation as to why. So I think I had a sister that was diagnosed with dyslexia 2 years before. So there's a family link there. So that's when I got myself checked and was diagnosed. And then I thought that being diagnosed with dyslexia would be the answer to all my problems. However, as time went on, issues continued to emerge in one way or another, like either through relationships with dating or with my work life, or something out of the blue would just happen, which naturally wouldn't happen to anyone else around me. And I was just curious to know why. So I went like another 10 years of my life before even realizing that I'm also autistic and have ADHD.
Yeah, I can relate to that feeling of why does it seem so easy for other people and hard for others? What were some of the experiences you went through that were those hiccups you experienced?
And there's so many, and I've explained all the sort of the adventurous and dangerous ones in my book. So I'll try to avoid giving too much away there, but I guess I could say that I'm lucky to be alive with some of the things that I've done. However, just naturally, my brain just compares with what I'm doing with other people around me that have sort of, had a similar education or from a similar part of Melbourne or whatever. And the types of big decisions like choosing the right partner seem to be easy for most others around me, whereas it's taken me such a long time to find the right partner. That and probably choosing the right job, the right career for my skill sets. It's something that, I've had so many different jobs over the years and have moved on from job to job for one reason or another. And it's even still a challenge I've got now. I'm in between jobs right now and I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do for a job. And it's really important because a job makes up so much time in our lives. So it's a really important decision. It's a big decision. And there's just plenty of times over the years where I've felt different or made a choice that most people wouldn't dare try. So, yeah, the list goes on and on. I was bullied in high school growing up. And as a result of my strong sense of justice, I had to retaliate with those bullies. And get back at them for what they'd done to me and got myself into an awful lot of trouble and probably should have been expelled for what I did. But yeah, I was at the time I just thought, well, I did that because I was getting picked on and bullied. I'd never linked that to an undiagnosed autism or ADHD. So it's interesting how these things just come up, but it makes for a bloody good story.
Yeah, listeners, if you want to find out how Travis nearly got expelled, then you'll have to read his book. Yeah, bullying sucks and it's very common. Happened to me as well. Was it something that got better for you as you got older and when you were in university in terms of being able to make friends? I know you were saying that finding it the right partner was hard, but did other things get easier?
Yeah. So certainly removing myself from the high school environment and going into university it's like two completely different worlds for me. University was, I guess, full of new experiences, and I had lots of friends and from both genders, boys and girls. Whereas in high school, I never talked to girls at all. I would always like run away or hide or just pretend that girls didn't exist, which is quite funny. So yeah, certainly as I left high school and matured, yeah, there was very little bullying and yeah, I became more social and life just became so much more fun.
That's great to hear. And I also did the running away from girls thing. I had multiple funny situations like that, especially in primary school. So it sounds like things started to get better once you were out of the horrible experience of high school, which I think is hard for most people, but especially for neurodivergent people. Was there a big difference after getting the diagnosis of dyslexia when you were 24? What sort of changes came then? Did you have different ways of consuming information and studying than you had previously?
Yeah, no. So I'll answer that question by saying that. So I'm not sure if you've heard of the Allison Lawson Clinic.
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah. So they've developed a treatment program that cures or removes the dyslexia entirely. So technically, I could be sitting here right now and say I'm no longer dyslexic. And then I talk about that in the book a bit, like about the treatment program and what I did, what that journey was like, and how it felt immediately post the program, more alert, and how do I explain? More alert and I guess more alert with less anxiety, with better attention and listening skills, I'd say, when people are speaking. So at the time, it was great and it felt like it was really working, but it was kind of like the novelty wore off after, say, I don't know, 6 to 12 months. But I guess it was kind of like adjusting back to what the ways in which I could have functioned if I wasn't dyslexic. So after diagnosis, I went back to uni and tried to finish my course again. But unfortunately, I dropped out because this is going to sound quite funny, that I made a spontaneous and random decision to go overseas. I was so close to getting to the end of my course and after being diagnosed and treated with dyslexia, but I chose to go overseas just because I felt like it.
Right? Classic ADHD.
Yeah. So and obviously the treatment program was just for dyslexia. If I had been on medication back then for ADHD, that probably would have been a different story, and I could have been a fully qualified radiation therapist. But yeah, that didn't happen. So, and that was what I've spoken about before about issues continued to emerge after getting diagnosed with dyslexia, and that was one of them. Yeah. Next question.
And how about then after getting diagnosed with ADHD and autism, what changed after that?
Yeah. So that one, I think that hit me a lot harder than the dyslexia diagnosis, just because it's so many multifaceted areas of life that are affected with those conditions. I think, yeah, the biggest thing for me was self-awareness, understanding all the mistakes that I've made throughout life and why they occurred. And at the time, I probably didn't understand it and come to terms with it as well as I could have. I mean, it's not something you accept overnight. But yeah, one of the reasons why I've wrote my book is to really take a massive, huge deep dive into all the unexpected surprises that have happened throughout my life and why they happened and link it back to the autism ADHD and provide some sort of self-reflection. And I think that, yeah, coming back to self-awareness, it's really improved my self-awareness, provided closure on sort of traumatic experiences I've had over the years, and been able to move forward and have a clearer head on what I'm doing on this planet.
It sounds like the book was a really cathartic process then, helping to sort through those memories.
100%. Cathartic's a good word. A lot of people have used that one.
Mhm. And you talked about how it was hard choosing work in the, 'cause as a young person, has that become clearer after the diagnosis, or is it still something that you're figuring out?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what I find interesting is that I think I read somewhere on Dr. Tony Attwood's website is that autistic males tend to choose one of two types of partners. And what was interesting is that I read one of them and it sounded exactly like my wife. It's the nurturing, caring, maternal type of person. So, and my wife obviously ticks all those boxes. So I think reading that and obviously ending up with the person that I'm with now is it's like, okay, I'm doing something right. If Tony
Hmm.
says this is what I've chosen, it sounds like I'm making the right decision. But also then to answer your question, I think that self-awareness helps you to identify your strengths, where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are, and how to sort of modify my life in ways to, yeah, help manage weaknesses and capitalize on my strengths. And I'll be honest, I haven't got it perfect just yet. I'm still trying to make that adjustment, but I think I'm much closer now than I was prior to diagnosis for sure.
Let me know when you figured out the perfection for that. I'm still figuring it out too.
It'd be nice if there was some computer algorithm, AI code that we could use that just, I don't know, program it into our brains and just that just tells us what to do. That'd be fantastic.
Well, I made a spreadsheet to decide which woman to date, and it was helpful, but it's one of those hard things where you have incomplete information.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
other type of potential partner that Dr. Tony Atwood has on his website?
There was two. There was the caring, empathetic, maternal type of partner. So my wife's a nurse, and that's perfect for me. And the second one was finding another like neurodivergent autistic ADHD partner that probably shares similar interests.
Hmm.
So whether it's, I don't know, gaming or crossword puzzles or I don't know, something geeky or something nerdy that neurodivergents do.
Hmm. Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. And
Yeah.
hopefully there's still the aspect of you both have strengths and ideally your weaknesses get cancelled out. That one person is really good at one aspect of domestic labor and the other person is great at the other. An example for me
Yeah.
is I hate cleaning mirrors. It really makes me feel somewhat ill. There's something about the sensory aspect of it, but my wife doesn't mind it. And I'm very happy to clean the toilet and do things like that. So we
Yeah,
complement
nice.
each other in that way.
Very good. I think a secret hack for anyone neurodivergent is that if you can find a partner that has a really strong executive functioning system, you're pretty much winning because it just makes up for all your weaknesses.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next area that I want to talk about is work. You said you've had many careers, and at the moment it's a combination of writing and also being in the medical technology industry. Do you want to tell us about some of the recent jobs that you've had? And how many jobs have you had in total? You mentioned you've had quite a few.
Oh,
I think I've had about eight. Eight.
eight doesn't sound so bad. Oh, I think I've lost count. I'd say I've probably had at least maybe 15 to 20, which might be more than yourself, but I'm sure there's people out there that have had a lot more than that. And I guess I've had lots of different types of jobs. So I started working in Coles supermarkets, stacking shelves. I've done deliveries like for junk mail.
Mhm.
What else have I done? I've worked in hospitality as a waiter. I would never be the type of waiter that would take someone's orders. It would always be a set menu because being neurodivergent and trying to listen and understand what someone wants to eat is an absolute nightmare. I could never do it. I tried it and I'm like, I failed miserably at that. But I've done things like I've signed up to appear in television ads
Nice.
as an extra. I've worked on a farm stacking hay with a bobcat.
Cool. That sounds like a fun job.
Yeah, it was actually. It was. I don't know why I didn't keep doing that one because it was great for time in solitude. I've worked in a small startup company that was manufacturing wearable sensors for use in occupational health and safety and sports.
Mhm.
I was a tech engineer for them. That was a good job. And then from there, I moved into a very large corporate medical technology company where I ended up staying there for about 7 years, just over 7 years, before resigning last year just for a bit of a change. And that's probably where I'm going to end up once I find another job. But right now I'm doing Uber Eats, so I'm on the bike, delivering food and doing deliveries for a roof plumbing business as well. So yeah, I've got lots of technical skills. I'm friendly. I can talk to people. Probably not so good with time management. So being a planner or a receptionist or something that's with multitasking, I wouldn't be very good at.
Me neither.
Nah. But getting back into technology as a tech engineer or something like that could be fun.
Absolutely. How did you find it working in the larger organization compared to being at the startup? Which environment did you prefer?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, there's pros and cons to both. The startup is very fast paced. The HR person is the IT person, is also the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
And then you've got the large corporate company was the complete opposite. There's almost too many people. It takes forever to get things done, which is bloody frustrating.
Mhm.
Which do I prefer? I preferred the corporate one for financial reasons, but the startup for just enjoyment and day to day having stuff to do and
Mm.
getting things done. So there must be like a happy medium out there where a company gets to a certain size and be like, no more people. We want to keep our innovation, be able to get things done, but not overemploy and have all these people just doing nothing.
Mm. Yeah, maybe scale ups would be the sweet spot for you, where they're past the unstable part of the startup journey, but no, not so large that they become bureaucratic.
Yeah. Does this sound like Focus Bear? Is that what it's like?
I wish. We're very much in the highly unstable phase where it's not clear that we can continue employing people past 12 months. So definitely not good for the financial stability side, but fun.
Fair enough.
So when you're not working, what do you enjoy doing? You in your bio, you had breakdancing, running. What was the other thing? And probably a bunch of other hobbies too.
Yeah. So, yeah, running, obviously, you and I both enjoy running. We can relate. Breakdancing is an interesting one. I've probably got into that the last, 5 or 6 years. And I've come to understand that I think the reason I enjoy breakdancing is the ability the freedom to move my body in different directions and put myself in, quite unique positions, but also being able to move my body to the music. It's almost like my form of communication because verbal communication, being able to express how I feel is so difficult, but I can do it so naturally and easily through the music, which I reckon there must be a lot of people in the arts industry that have that commonality.
Yeah, I'd say so. We had a guest who has a conference around autism in the arts sector, and he reckons that it is quite common.
Yeah. There's something about it.
Joey would be very interested to hear about your power moves. He's really keen on being able to do a one-armed push-up. Imagine with breakdancing, you probably can almost do that
A one-arm push-up. Yeah.
with a wall.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do so many push-ups, but never with one arm.
Or
Um,
a handstand push-up.
Yeah. That I'm probably better chance of doing that.
Nice. I can barely do normal push-ups, so I envy you. You must be getting very fit with the Uber Eats bike riding as well. Are you on a push bike or what type of bike?
Yeah. I'm on a push bike,
Nice.
and it around the Brunswick area there is a few hills, so it can get very tiring after about 5 or 6 deliveries.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
But you'll be a machine.
Yeah, well, hope it improves my park run times.
Yeah, you'll smash me. But Travis has challenged me to a race.
I have. I'm very keen because your our times are so similar. You did 2020 last time, yeah?
Yeah, it's been a few weeks, so I'm probably not going to be able to run that fast, but we'll see. All right, so now let's talk about productivity tips. What do you do in terms of, say, more of the jobs where it's quite cognitive? What do you do to optimize your productivity when you were, say, doing the engineering job or when you're in the corporate job? Or also
Yeah.
writing books as well, because that's also a very hard thing to do. And you've written a book, which is a huge achievement. How did you manage to keep doing that?
Yeah, thank you. I think one area that I struggle with that I think so many others out there, other neurodivergents must, is understanding your why,
Mm.
understanding why you're doing something. So many times I would go to start something. I'm very good at starting something and then get halfway through and go, why am I doing this? Like, so I think coming back to the why, like, I'll go back to the book as an example. Why am I expending so much effort to try and put my thoughts on paper? It's because I want to share my story. It's because I think the world needs to better understand what it's like to be neurodivergent. So there's a real purpose and a meaning behind it. And I guess with engineering, or it could be the research part of what you're doing, you want to make sure you're getting it right, that the results will be favorable for the customer. So, everything that you're doing has a purpose and a meaning, and there's always a why. So always coming back to your why, that for me, that helps motivate me and keeps me productive. Making lists, because there's so many things flying around, it's very easy to forget. I'm not going to lie, Ritalin medication does help for productivity. I know some people might be against the medication thing, but I think everyone should at least try. And if you can put up with the side effects, you're definitely winning.
Mhm.
And I am pleased to share that I have downloaded the Focus Bear app. I have got an account and I have used it a couple of times to block out some apps, and it does work. And it's actually really good. Done a great job with that one.
Thanks. Still a lot more to do there. The point about why is really important because I was thinking when you were saying you get halfway through, for me, I don't even start it. And I often really struggle in the corporate environment that I work for in my day job because there seems to be so many BS tasks that I don't see the point of, and then I don't want to do them. And it causes a lot
Yeah.
of conflict, actually. I'm wondering what approach you have for linking some of these tasks to your values or your broader vision.
Oh, I can second what you've said. I've certainly had times in the corporate world where, yeah, either my reluctance to do something or perhaps the way I've gone about something hasn't been what my manager has wanted or someone superior to me has wanted. Yeah, it's a really tough one. I'm just trying to think how to give you the best answer and our listeners the best answer. I'm going to give you an answer that my psychologist actually provided me a few weeks ago, and I thought it was actually a really good way to think about it. Is that if you're given an instruction by someone, that person, you treat that person as, I guess, the expert, or there would be there's always a reason why someone tells you to do something, even though you might not agree with it or you don't understand it. Unfortunately, life is all about biting the bullet and just doing it, because if you don't do it the way someone asks and you do it a different way, it's going to create the conflict, like you've said. It just creates a very difficult environment to work in, and that just cascades into a war. That's the best way I can describe it. So, yeah. So I think, yeah, with autism especially, it's difficult to put yourself in the other person's shoes and understand why they're telling you to do something. So naturally, that person's going to want to argue or withdraw or not follow through. But the bigger picture is that that person is there for a reason and they probably know more about the situation than you. They're more of an expert, unfortunately, even though you might not think they are.
Uh-huh.
So you kind of have to just do what they say. And it's interesting. It's actually interesting how far you can get in life by just saying yes to everything and just doing what people say. You just slowly work your way up the ranks.
Maybe that's why I've hit the glass ceiling, because I keep on challenging people and saying, do we really have to do it this way? Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that, but it's kind of also, it's kind of like work masking where I want to do it a certain way and I have a way that I think is better. And it's really in some ways painful for me to have to do it a way that I consider less efficient or less useful. I'd never really thought about, in terms of masking, I'd mainly thought about it in terms of in the workplace, having to talk to people and talking about what they get up to on the weekend and making small talk. But there's probably actually a dimension to it around the style of work as well. Very interesting.
Yeah, and I guess it sounds like you've got a lot on the plate. You've got your work with your app, which is small startup, getting things done, but doing things your way as well. Whereas you're working a corporate job as well. That's the complete opposite. It's like the the polar opposite world of what you're doing with your app. So, and there must be constant adjustment for you to having going back and forth between the two different worlds.
Yeah, and it's also somewhat complicated because the reason I'm in this corporate is because I had a business that got acquired by the corporate, and for a few years I was able to do it exactly the way that I wanted to, and now the bureaucracy is seeping in. But
Yeah.
they're actually quite reasonable, and often it's not so much a conflict, but more of a negotiation and adopting a mindset of curiosity and asking my boss, do I really have to do this? Do I really have to go to this meeting? And some of the time she'll say, no, actually, good question. You don't have to go. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I guess it's about how to ask it as well. With your lists, you mentioned that one of your tactics is you write lists. Do you have a particular way that you prioritize your tasks?
Good question. I've learnt the hard way many times that I need to prioritize my wife. That's always above everything, even though sometimes naturally it might not be. But yeah, anything to do with my wife is a must. But yeah, I think it comes down to it kind of changes with every given day and every given situation. You know, you can knock off short tasks very quickly, like I don't know, stacking the dishwasher or defrosting or taking meat out of the freezer so it defrosts in time for dinner. I hate that task. I always forget it, but it's so damn important. If you don't do it, you'll have a frosty dinner. So those things, you can quickly smash them out. But the longer things, like, for example, right now I'm recording an audiobook version for my novel, and adds hours and hours and hours and days of work. And sometimes I have to remind myself I can't spend all day doing this. I do have several other tasks to do. So sometimes with my list, I put like a 1 or a 2 or a 3, or I sort of quantify how important they are. And regular feedback from my wife sort of helps me prioritize on the right things as well. My wife, she's very neurotypical and very, very vocal. So if she has a feeling or an emotion or an opinion, she'll definitely express it. So I'm always hearing it. Which I guess I'm lucky in that regard, being autistic. I've got like, I don't know, constant feedback in my ear that I can refer to. Yeah, I think that answers your question.
Yeah, that is a good answer because that can be challenging in terms of the big projects like doing the audiobook and being able to differentiate between them and the little tasks which might feel a bit more urgent. But at the same time, if you only did the really urgent things, then you wouldn't be able to do the big projects like the book and the audiobook, which are probably now
Exactly.
feeling urgent that may not have felt that way in the beginning.
Exactly. And I'm gonna provide another recommendation as well that would be an awesome read for anyone neurodivergent or not. And you may have heard of it, but the book Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Mm-hmm.
That is a wonderful breakdown on ways that you can change your habits and prioritize for what's more important. almost finished that book at the moment, and I think I'm definitely going to be implementing some strategies from that into my life. 100%.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are some of the small atomic habits that you might add into your life?
I was fascinated to know that you can allocate less than 2 minutes of your day for one particular habit. And as long as you keep doing it every single day, it will just naturally eventuate into becoming second nature and a change in behavior. So, and it could be something simple like making your bed. Let's say making your bed. I don't like making my bed, but let's just say tomorrow I will do one pillow. And then the next day I might do two pillows. And then the third day I might do two pillows and then the blanket. And then the fourth day I might do pillows, blanket, and put my pajamas underneath the pillow. So they're there. So it doesn't have to be the entire thing every single day. You can very steadily split it up into small chunks until it gets until it gets locked in there in that brain.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had an air conditioning technician come to our house, and it was quite embarrassing because I hadn't made the bed. So you'll be ready for that. That if any tradespeople come in and need to inspect your bedroom, it'll be looking amazing.
Exactly. It sounds like you and I we've got similar backgrounds and similar challenges and similar interest in life.
Yeah, I'm normally okay about making the bed. I don't mind doing it. I just sometimes forget. But I do it about 50% of the time. But maybe I need another trigger so I can do it 100% of the time. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. No worries at all.
Next question is about how you deal with all of the input that can come in terms of emails, phone calls, instant messages, especially in a corporate context where you might be getting a lot of them.
And it's so hard these days with like spam and junk. A lot of times you might get an email and it'll be sitting in your junk folder. Yeah. And I guess this is where the Focus Bear app can come in and help streamline that process because I've got 3 email addresses. And then within those 3 email addresses, there's focused and other and junk. So what's that? 3, 3, and 3. So that's 9 particular areas where I could check to find a message.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got apps. Yeah. I think the best way anyone can navigate that process is to have everything in one place and having a routine that you check every day to make sure that no stone is left unturned.
Is that what you do? Because you've got the book's email address, and then I imagine you have a personal one as well. Do you have a routine of checking them?
Yeah, I've got them saved under favorites. So I just click a button and then it just takes me straight there. And then it's good, like in my phone, I've consolidated my 3 email addresses under the one, under the Outlook app.
Oh, yeah.
So that helps. And then naturally, I've always got a thing called, I learned something off LinkedIn Learning. It's called the 48-hour rule.
Okay.
So basically, if someone sends you a message or an email and you haven't responded within 48 hours, usually that means you've either forgotten or you just don't want to respond.
Yeah.
So I try and, as long as I'm checking everything within 48 hours, I'm good. I know that if the person gets upset that I haven't replied, it's either because I don't like them or it's marketing crap or it's something that doesn't need a response.
Yeah, that probably is the general expectation for email. I struggle to meet it sometimes. 48 hours can be a lot if I tend to get several hundred emails per day, and it's hard to triage them and figure out which ones to reply to.
Yeah.
It's a good overall principle. Last question about productivity. Is there any unhelpful productivity advice that you've heard?
Yeah. I think any time when someone provides too much in the instructions, if the person, let's just say that there's a good chance that person's neurotypical, but they might go off on a tangent and provide some backstory about how they feel about something or what this person said about this person. And if they embed that within like advice that you need to be more productive, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So yeah, advice for listeners, please don't do that for anyone who's neurodivergent. My parents telling me what I should be doing and what they think they know what's best for me. For me, most of the time it's not good advice. It makes me not as productive. And I guess the way anytime when I guess the advice is overly loud or aggressive from the other person, naturally for me, I tend to do the opposite. If it's communicated in a way that's aggressive or loud, and I hate loud sounds, naturally I will not take on board any of that advice. And anything involving any questions involving feelings, like, oh, how do you feel about that? Oh, I'm going to get you to do this, Travis. How do you feel about that? That's just for me because I can't read my feelings most of the time. That's very unproductive. And I know that's a natural human question to ask how someone feels about something, but yeah, I wish people didn't do that.
My answer would probably be, let me try it and I'll get back to you after 24 hours.
Yeah, I should probably use that one.
And I guess a classic unhelpful piece of productivity advice is to work nonstop and not take any breaks. So we're going to reject that advice and take a break right now. The Focus and Chill podcast is brought to you by Focus Bear, a focus enhancement app for ADHDers. Staying on top of tasks is easier than ever with Focus Bear's new To-Dos feature. Record a voice note describing what you need to do, and Focus Bear's AI will turn it into a structured set of subtasks and automatically prioritize it for you. You can also take a photo of the paper to-do list, and the AI will work its magic. I'd love for you to try it. You can jump onto focusbear.io or just Google Focus Bear and try it out. Let me know what you think. All right, we're back from our break. I've had some water. Travis gave me some ideas about smart drink bottles that would let me track how much water I'll drink. Now I'm keen to ask you about your morning routine. What does it look like and how has it changed over time?
Yeah. So I guess right now, because I'm not working full time, my morning routine is it's a bit varied right now. But generally, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I go to the toilet. I seem to be always busting to use the toilet when I wake up. So usually go to the toilet, have a glass of water. I generally take a Ritalin straight away, just so it has time to kick in. And then once it kicks in, that just helps me progress through my morning routine easier. I guess I think of Ritalin neurotypical coffee, or coffee for everyone else that, most people like to have a coffee in the morning to wake up and get going for the day. I would prefer Ritalin because it sort of targets the right areas of the brain to get you up and about. But after Ritalin, generally for breakfast, I always eat Wheat Bix with banana. It's my go-to. I guess it's 5 or 6 Wheat Bix in the bowl, cutting up some banana and mixing it with some milk, and then just all slushies together. And don't need to chew; it just slides right down the throat. And then I always start with the breakfast, and then if my wife is awake in the morning, I would always ask her if she wants a coffee and breakfast as well. Always offer to make my wife her coffee, breakfast, and then put on clothes. I always find it really difficult, or sometimes difficult, to choose the right outfit for the occasion. So sometimes I'll be putting clothes on and my wife will be like, what are you wearing those shoes for? Or, no, you have to change their pants. They don't match your shirt. So sometimes getting changed can take 3 or 4 goes before I get it right. But yeah, thank God for her. And then apparently there's some rule where you need to wait a half an hour after eating before you can brush your teeth. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I've heard, especially if you drink orange juice or something acidic, it would be bad for your teeth.
Yeah, so my routine used to be brush teeth straight after eating. And then a friend of my wife is a dentist, and she's like, no, you have to wait at least half an hour for, as you've said, the acid to dissipate or whatever in the mouth. So I now make brushing teeth my last thing before I walk out the door. Any recommendations from a doctor or a health professional, I try to stick to that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. And then how about the other end of the day? How do you switch off at night and what is your sleep like?
Yeah, and I know that so many neurodivergents out there have trouble or have challenges with sleep and switching off. I can't honestly say that it's been an area of challenge for me. I guess I'm lucky in that when I'm tired and when I lie in bed and shut my eyes, my body just knows that it's time to go to sleep. It's not perfect though. Like there are nights where I might be worried about something or have something on my mind, or if I take a Ritalin too late in the afternoon, it can keep me up for a bit. But yeah, other than that, my sleep's actually been, it's actually pretty good. I can't complain. It must be I'm lucky.
Nice. What time
Yeah.
do you normally go to sleep?
Usually around 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
And wake up 7 a.m. or so?
Yeah. Yeah. Wake up about 7 a.m. That's roughly the time you need to wake up for park run. So
Depending on where you live.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I think with Melbourne weather getting colder at the moment, it's a lot easier to sort of want to stay in bed where it's warm.
Mm,
So sometimes I might sleep until 8, 8:30, but yeah, generally it stays within that realm.
nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a balanced evening and morning.
Yeah.
If people would like to read your book, where's the best place for them to find out how you got nearly expelled and all of the other adventures?
Yes, if you're interested in finding out what gruesome, disgusting thing I did in high school, and if you want to find out how I nearly died in Africa or managed to get severely dehydrated after running, and all the embarrassing things I've said to girls over the years, you can head to my website, which is travisalexander.com.au. There's a link on there that can take you across to Amazon where you can purchase my book, Stairway to the Spectrum, One Man's Story of Coming to Terms with Autism and ADHD.
Wonderful. And Travis, do you have any final words or asks for the audience?
If we take a step back and look at the overall climate for neurodiversity at the moment, we're in an exponential growth stage of awareness. More and more people that didn't know about ADHD and autism have all of a sudden had these words presented to them. And I think a lot of people know these words now, but they don't necessarily have a full grasp on the understanding behind them and what it's like living day to day with autism and ADHD. So I would encourage anyone, neurodivergent or not, just to improve their understanding and learn more about these conditions. And I'm sure there's somebody in their life that could benefit from advice or any help in some way getting through whatever daily struggles that they're facing, because it's becoming more and more common. And yeah, I think life these days requires so much of our executive functioning. There's going to be more and more of us that have these conditions that are going to need more and more help. Yeah, I think that's a good way to finish it off, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being a guest. We'll wrap the show with that. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Focus and Chill podcast. To listen to other episodes, jump onto podcast.focusbear.io. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or you know someone who'd be a good fit, email us at team@focusbear.io. Otherwise, stay focused, stay chilled, and peace out.